Alright, hi everyone. It is me, Sailor Moon. And it's me, Luna, here. And we're gonna make a film talking about is it is it still alright to like and watch WWE even though some folks in leadership and ownership in the past said or did things that were not right? Now there's going to be folks who strongly believe that if someone in ownership or leadership of a business does something that's sinful and unlawful, then by all, but they'll believe that being done with them, whoever they are, is not good enough. Some folks will believe that you need to, walk away from it or boycott it, as if what someone did besmirched the whole thing and that you can't not watch it anymore. Now, some folks strongly believe in the whole thing is once someone says or does something that's sinful and unlawful or both, that the whole thing is no longer good anymore. You know, as if they besmirched everything about it. Now, some folks strongly believe that. It is true that Vincent McMahon was guilty of doing a lot of sinful and unlawful things over his 78 years. And most of all those things happened when he was the owner of WWE for those 78 years or so. Now, does that mean that you can't watch the shows anymore or can't buy the dolls anymore, or buy the games or play the games anymore, or read the books anymore, or watch any of their Farsi or shows anymore? Well, the answer is yes and no. It's up to you. Whatever you feel, what you feel is right to you. If you're one of those folks that feels that you can't have anything to do with it anymore after all that, well, that's your own business, and you're going to do what feels right for you. A lot of folks always like to talk about this row in the sand that once someone steps over it, that's it. You have to be done with it. Well, you have to be done with them, not with the thing. A lot of folks out there might have a double standard when it comes to some things. If it's a business, then, oh, well, they're done with that business, or at least done with the fellow in the business that did the unlawful and sinful thing. When someone does something wrong, sinful, and unlawful in law mode, they're either fired, put in lockup, or are banned or forbid forever working in law mode again. But no one shifts their back on the Gavr law mode and say, well, fuck the 4-1 Rex Gavr law mode, because a lot of foresetters and a lot of elders and a lot of folks were guilty of doing things. So, well, you can't trust them anymore. Yeah, well, you only have one law mode. You only have one gathering law mode. You only have one Reich, one share, one near. So, yeah, when it comes to a business, that's when the double standard happens. Now, a lot of folks might guilt you and shame you and say, oh, well, you need to walk away from it or you need to boycott it. Whatever you feel like it's right to you, then you do what you feel is right. Yeah, Luna says, a lot of folks out there are going to think that, well, WWE is no longer good anymore, because someone in leadership and ownership did something that was sinful and unlawful. But does that mean that it's does that mean that it's now unlawful or sinful for you to, play with the dolls or buy the dolls or buy the film games or play the film games or buy their books or read their books or, watch any of their Farsi or shows that are folk work or whatever? No, it's not. If you want to stop, if you want to stop everything to do with WWE, that's your own business, and whatever you do, whatever feels right to you. There is no right or wrong choosing here. There's not like there's a handbook that someone can read and say, it's not like there's a handbook to say, that says, all right, Vincent Kennedy McMahon was guilty of many sundry sinful and unlawful deeds. Well, the handbook says that I have to walk away from it. The handbook says that now I can have nothing to do with it. Well, there is no handbook, so you got to do what you feel is right to you, you know. And a lot of folks out there might say, oh, well, all the other skilled wrestling businesses aren't guilty of that. Well, it's true, their owners, their leadership, their ownership might not be guilty of that, but they need to be guilty of something else. So no one is flawless when it comes to that. So you can't go and say, go watch something else because they would never be guilty of anything sinful and unlawful. Well, anyway, if folks want to guilt me or shame us for still, liking WWE and still watching their farcier shows and their law and their yield shows, still buying their toys, their dolls, or, playing, buying their film games and playing the film games, or buying or reading their books, well, that's their own business, But so at the end of the day, some folks might choose, instead of just boycotting the whole thing or leaving it altogether, some folks might choose to do nothing to do with who or whatever did it. And if they happen to be an unshow self, which Vince McMahon was an unshow self starting from 9 between 71 YL to 2022 YL. So you got a lot of farcier shows and a lot of yield shows and a lot of other things that you can't watch anymore if that's your standard, or you got to skim through. Well, you're going to do whatever you feel is right. Yeah, you're right, Luna. At the end of the day, you got to do what you feel is right for you. And if you feel that you need to walk away from it, have nothing to do with it anymore, and boycott it, or whatever the English word would be for that, well, that's your own business. And all right, you do what you feel is right for you. There is no right or wrong way of dealing with it, But the one thing that I know right now, and Luna, you back me up with this, is that you cannot guilt everyone else for the sins and misdeeds that someone did. So, yeah, you can't guilt everyone in WWE who works for them, or anyone who's watching their shows or buy their dolls or their games or their books or whatever, and say that they're guilty of the same mindset or stand, or they're guilty of the same sin and misdeeds. Well, at the end of the day, I still like WWE. That doesn't mean that I don't know what happened, or, and a lot of folks out there will say you can only like something until someone says or does something that's sinful and unlawful. Well, then you got to be done with it. Well, if that's what some folks want to do, like I said, that's their own business. There is no wrong or right way of handling, WWE. Anyway, if you like this film, then follow me over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film we made earlier this morning when me and Tuxedo Mask, or Black Tie Hide, did our film talking about why PGSM never gets on from the Sailor Moon followership. I, Sailor Moon Serena, and I, Luna, will see you later. Goodbye. Farewell.